Hi there, this is my channel, Yaru Walks. In the year 2024, I will embark on an epic walking journey across the United States. I plan to hike 8,000 miles and to cross the US 3 times, via the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail. In the hiking world, this is known as a calendar year Triple Crown and has been completed by only a handful of hikers in history. The calendar year Triple Crown has traditionally been completed by jumping within or between the trails throughout the year, primarily to avoid snow, but also to avoid other seasonal hazards such as floods, extreme desert heat, and wildfires. For my attempt, I'm trying to hike each trail on a continuous, unbroken, end-to-end footpath, and to accomplish this, I must hike across all 4 seasons. I will be posting weekly updates along the way, so you can join me for the journey. Wish me luck. All right, so I left the Ojo Caliente hot springs maybe an hour ago, and now I'm kind of cutting off to the west of it. The road goes like this, like I was walking this highway, and it comes out like this, and then it does this big U shape, and then it finally gets its act together, and it starts going off the way I want to go. So my plan is to walk like a mile out till I get to public land, and then cut right across and bushwhack that way. Whew. Cold! That is the coldest water I've hit yet. For this type of hiking, rather than looking at my map the whole time, the best way to go about it is to orient yourself on your map and then pick something way off in the distance and just walk to it. So that way you know you're on the line. All right, this is proving to be more challenging than I thought. It looks, I mean, obviously I knew there'd be challenges, but you can't really see the high resolution details from, your lookout point when you're scouting, a quarter mile ahead. But the field has become just cactuses, little cactuses that I have to step around. All right, I'm at the top of that ridge now. Where I was last was back there. You can see the town and the road's just right over there. So now the place that I'm going is there, roughly. And I think the way that I'll go will be down here and then up that to get to that, and then I'll just scout the next section because that ridge is only like a couple hundred yards away, but I can see there's a valley right there, so I'll have to figure out the best way from there. All right, at the top of the next ridge, I think there's no good way ahead. I think I'll just go the hard but fun route right along this ridge and then up to there, and then I'll look from there what's on the next side. How cool is this? I'm following an elk trail on this ridge line. It looks like it's a hiker trail, but it all looks like elk prints to me. Look at these canyons. You would think I could hike a straight line, but I've got to zigzag wherever I am able to walk. It would be so inefficient to go down and up and down in a straight line, but I want to go that way. But instead, if you look, the only way I can go is this way, and then get up there, and then hope there's another way to continue on the next ridge line. Next destination, route I'm gonna hike. Trying to get that way. I think that's my best bet. So funny, I'm just sticking to the washes at this point. It's a lot faster, even though they're not straight. It's like walking in an old European city built before the grid system. All the roads just mishmash. Like if you see, I just did a big U. But what you can do is follow the wash as far as it's useful, then get out. And then, I mean, following the wash is kind of bushwhacking, but bushwhack over to the next wash that goes the direction you want to go. Right, it is flattened out a little bit, and there's supposed to be a road right here. Well, there's your answer. There is a road. King of the castle, I have a road. Jesus, people live out here. This is so cool. I met this lady, she explained to me her friend has a shelter up here. I could stay at tonight if I want to. There's water over here. And then that house that I just filmed over there is an earthship. And the people who live there are weavers. This would be another example of a New Mexico house.
You can see what he's done.
Wow.
By planting things and by basically just berming the wash. Where the channels of water come down, he just would build a berm.
For water capture.
Yeah,
and then he just stores it in a cistern.
Yeah.
And is this also a earthship house?
No.
Okay.
Built though.
Yeah. How cool is that?
My name is Sean.
Sean,
Demarest.
awesome. Demarest. And what is your dog's name?
This is Sasha.
Sasha. And what type of dog is she?
She's a husky mix.
Husky mix.
Yeah,
And she's
she was in El Rito rescue. She was chained up for a couple of years, and I was able to free her.
Awesome. Yeah. As we've chatted a little bit. I kind of walked out of the desert over here and encountered Sean. Anyway, as we walked this route to get water, which she showed me, which is awesome because I was running low, she told me a little bit about the area. So you're an artist, right?
Yeah.
And so what type of art do you do?
I'm a painter.
Okay.
I think of myself as place-based. I like to kind of interact with my environment.
Very cool. And so is it like oil painting on canvas?
Yeah, it's pretty old school. Oil on panels usually.
And then what are your subjects that you paint?
Juniper trees, grass.
Yeah,
sky.
kind of the desert landscape.
Yeah, because that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's so cool. And then also amazing to meet you because as we were walking and you're showing me the water, we kind of stumble upon what is very novel for me. These houses out here in the desert, which are actual earthships, right? And so I'm going to zoom in real quick on the one behind you because I have a good camera that can do that. But so what I'm filming is that structure over there, right? And you said that you know the people who live there, but that is an actual earthship, right?
Yes.
Could you describe, to the extent that you understand, what an earthship is?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So earthships are designed to take full advantage of solar heat gain as well. Okay, so the sun comes in from the south, you got your windows, and it's going to warm up the floor.
Okay, and I literally see that as you're talking now. This makes so much sense. So that's the south side right there. And you can see all the windows there.
Yes.
Yep, and solar on top. Sorry, go ahead.
And then the back side will be built, if it's a traditional earthship with tires, that you ram earth into. So essentially you have a huge earth back, which acts as like a heat sink. And so you have your thermal mass, and you're using tires, which are cheap or free. And so that's the idea. And then they also, from the roof, will collect rainwater into cisterns.
So that's open for tonight if I wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. And then last question, if people wanted to check out your art, do you have a website or a studio? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's my name, SeanDemarest.com.
Is that SHAWN?
Yeah, and I live in El Rito, ELRITO.
Yep.
So I think if anyone just searched Sean El Rito painter, they'd probably find me.
Okay, cool. So how cool is this? Sean offered to let me stay the night at her friend's art studio. And then this studio is located in, I guess, what is a little earthship neighborhood. I had made reference a few days ago to the relaxed zoning laws out here in New Mexico in the desert. And I said somewhere out here there are people who have built these structures called earthships. I stepped across the ice there and I thought it was gonna hold me. I was ready if it didn't though, and it did not. Fun fact, this is Georgia O'Keeffe's house, the American artist.
They settled here, and this where actually our family started right here. This cabin, and I want to read.
Oh, this cabin right here.
This
Wow.
little guy.
How many years ago was that?
Oh my gosh, 200.
200.
Easy 200.
That helps me date these cabins when I see them out here and they're all collapsed. I think to myself, like, oh, that must be from 1910. No, that's a 200-year-old cabin.
Oh yeah. Easy.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm gonna redo it. I want to do a cement pad, and I'm gonna take each one of those vigas, and what I can use, I'll reuse. You know, but I really wanna make it to where my great grandkids know where they came from. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
They have a blast, man. Really not to make any money on them, but
So is that one a bull?
yep,
Yep.
that's a little guy, and that's the big boy over there.
Yep. Oh, I got some on there good, I think. Yeah.
You know, I've done it. They've been there a long time.
So who would have lived there? Is there any lore on that?
It was some miners that Dad recalls when he was a kid. Dad lived to be 99, and he said that little particular dwelling was miners. He said.
And then it was first built like over 200 years ago? Maybe 300?
Oh yeah, easily. He doesn't remember the people or nothing, but
So he lived to be 99.
he lived.
And he didn't know the people, and he's been out here his entire life.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they were there way before him, but you know their parents talked to them about the cedar.
Yeah. I'm blown away at how well your truck handles just driving over this age.
Oh yeah, this little 03 Toyota Tundra.
So that was pretty awesome. I was walking down the road and I saw that the next water was not for another 17 miles. The last access point was the river back there. My problem was that it was behind a barbed wire fence. So generally speaking, I follow those rules, but when it comes to backtracking several miles to get water or just going for it, I guess I just kind of went for it. And then the rancher happened to be right next to me when I did it. So he's like, hey! So I gave him a wave, backed off his land, back to the road, and walked up to him, with the water jugs in my hand. And once he understood what I was doing, he was apologizing. He's like, yeah, I just get these, tweakers who come out here. Almost everybody out here has had someone come on their land and steal stuff from them several times. I was like, oh wow, I had no idea. So then he ended up offering me water and food. And then I met all of his dogs, his wife, and then they let me have a shower. And then we're just chatting, and he was talking about how he was going to go out to feed the cows, but he figured he'll let them wait because they snuck in last night and they ate his hay that he had prepared for them. So they kind of got an extra helping. And I was like, well, I mean, if you're going to go out later, I'd be happy to help you. Honestly, I think it'd be fun to go see it. He's like, sure. So we hop on the truck and he drives us over to where the cows are down by the river. And we got to feed them. And then he gave me a little tour of his property. So his family, through his great grandfather, who received the initial land, it's not like a grant, but just gift from the King of Spain over 200 years ago, has maintained this land through the family for centuries. And they now own, I think it was 1,500 acres, including the entire canyon that's behind the mountain, behind their house. Pretty astounding. And so anyway, he took me on a tour of the ranch, which was pretty sweet. I'm gonna connect with the CDT here in a couple of hours ahead on this road. I think the sun will be set maybe by the time I get to it. So I wanted to take this opportunity to film what it looks like out here. So it's just kind of canyons, small mountains that are really weather worn with like exposed rock faces. And then the prairie is covered in sage, pinyon trees, and juniper trees, which I don't see around me, I think. Only fitting that as soon as I'm back on trail, the snow is here. I'm gonna pause and turn around when you look. No snow. And then the snow starts. This is my first water source that was a maybe, and it's totally frozen. I'm gonna walk over here and show you real quick. Can you see? You can't see. Those bubbles go down 3 or 4 inches of frozenness. But and like there it's like 4, yeah, probably about 4 inches deep. But you can see that it's melted right there at the bottom of this beaver dam. And I can't count the number of times that I've crossed a river, then found a beaver dam, and then thanks to the beaver I've been able to get water. And otherwise, no joke, with ice this thick, I could probably, thanks to those logs, those twigs there, find a place to break through. But there have legitimately been rivers that are consistently frozen as solid as this one is. But shout out to the beavers for getting me water today. Still working my way up the Pedro Mountains today. The snow, now that the sun's up, it started to melt. That was something I learned on the AT. By about 10:30 in the morning, at least as of January, February, March, April, the ice crust on top would melt, and then you start post-holing through, and then your speed drops to about half of what it is when the ice crust is frozen. And I think once I get to the other side of it, the south-facing side, the snow will be melted, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, the snow's right around a foot deep now. I'm still about a mile from the summit. And then I gotta go a couple miles across the top. I think the top's gonna get more snow though. So my prediction is the snow will melt at the top. That'll depend on the tree cover though. And if it's not melted on the top, it'll melt once I start going down the south face. I'm just documenting right now how much snow there is coming up this side, because I think it'll be almost unbelievable how quickly this snow disappears. The little peak right there marks the first of 2 peaks that I'm crossing, and you can see now that I'm on the other side of it, where this just this particular hill gets a lot of sun exposure throughout the day. There's no snow right here. Now there's going to continue to be snow where I'm going, because I'm going to continue climbing for about another mile. But I hope that once I crest that top, that the snow level either drops to nothing or that it will drop to something more manageable, like what I'm walking on right now. Well, it's still snowy up here. Several feet of snow. And I'm on top of the mountain. I am very low on food and on water. So I'm gonna turn back and alternate around lower. This is so frustrating. But it's just the truth. So, whatever. All right, I'm back down into the snow that's harder and quicker to walk over. Just a recap of kind of my thought process for turning back up there. I hiked for right around 7 hours, and I had gone 7.5 miles. All right, I'm back down into the icier, kind of harder packed snow so I can move faster. I do not think that's a trail. That marker means that it is. I guess this is a trail. Anyway, I got up to the top and I realized I had been hiking for something like 6.5 hours since the morning. I had just crested the top and I had only traveled 7.5 miles. And I promise you, my rate of progress in those last 3 miles, working my way up, dropped to something like 0.5 mile an hour to 0.75 miles an hour. It was brutal. And the whole way through, I was just telling myself, oh, when I get to the top, it'll be melted. I really thought that. I got to the top and it was every bit as bad as it had been for those last 2 miles where it was miserable. And then I was like, just that sudden moment of realization, oh crap, man, I did not expect this. And then just, gut check, okay, you got to turn back. You have uncertainty when you move ahead, i.e., will it stay soft like that all the way across the top? And in all honesty, I think it would have, because unlike, let's say, like the White Mountains where you go right up and then right down, this mountain goes up to 10,500 feet, and that's right where I was at. And then it's a gradual decline where you stay at above 9,500 feet for the next, 10 miles. And even there was another route you could cut off to get to Cuba faster. You stay above 9,000 feet for 10 miles on that route too. And so anyway, the actual CDT route was another 18 miles through snow. And I've turned back now, just to put in perspective what I was carrying. I have no stove. Well, I have a stove, but I don't have the fuel for it. The general store that I went to most recently wasn't carrying it. And that's dangerous. That's the dangerous stuff right there. It's hollow down there. So I wasn't carrying fuel, so I couldn't melt snow for water. And I'm now out of water, FYI. And I'm also out of food. I thought that I was going to push up through a little bit of snow. I honestly didn't look at the map close enough. I thought I pushed through a little bit of snow to get up top, but I thought it would be packed down stuff like this that I could just cruise over. But it wasn't. It just got worse and worse going up. And so if I were to go ahead those 18 miles, and let's say that 12 of those miles were through soft snow, which I think they would have been, I'm now looking at 1.5 days until I arrive, best case scenario, in Cuba. So that's a day and a half of hiking, literally without food. And, questionable access to water, because the last 2 water sources on the CDT route, I don't know if they were dry, but I couldn't find them. They were either under the snow or dry under the snow, because I didn't hear or see any water at them. So anyway, this is going to be another day of basically 0 miles of progress. What is the date? Today is the, ow. Will it focus? Saturday, the 14th of December. I'll throw up my location on a map so you can see how far north I am in New Mexico still. Yeah, it's just funny. You keep having all these issues. I keep having all these issues out here. It's getting tighter and tighter of a window to make it on time. But anyway, that was one of those situations up top where, you know, if a few things go wrong, I don't know, like I could push myself for a day and a half with no food. I mean, I could have done that. I just feel like, you know, I don't know, again, you're pushing through that soft snow. What if you turn an ankle? I guess it was kind of the same thing in the whites, but at every point in the whites, I had pretty consistent conditions. So this was my first attempt to get back into the mountains on the CDT route. And honestly, they're just, it's unbelievable when you're hiking over there, like off in the desert. No snow whatsoever anywhere for 150 miles. No real snow. And then boom, as soon as you're above 9,000 feet, probably 8,500 feet, snow's back everywhere. Probably above 9,000 feet, it's soft snow, which is exactly what I saw in Colorado. So I don't know why I thought this was going to work. Anyway, I got to the top up there and I just kind of realized I'm out of food. Or at least after I eat my next meal, I'll be out of food. And once I drink my next round of water, I'll be out of water. And I don't want to trudge through snow that so far has been knee deep to, in places, mid-thigh deep, with no water and no food. So I will retreat, accept defeat on this one, and look for an alternate, probably on the west side of this mountain. That'll be my last full moon of the year. So funny, I've hiked all day long and I'm still not done doing nothing. All right, no videos today, so I'll just give a video update. New Mexico might be where dreams go to die. I've run into so many problems in the last 2 days. I was originally going to do a road walk down through Albuquerque to connect to the town of Grants, but then I saw such little snow in the mountains around me. I thought, you know what if I cut over earlier and I come through the town of Cuba, and I'll re-enter the mountain ranges in the CDT just north of Cuba. It's just one mountain. How bad could it be? So I thought it was going to be a minimal amount of snow because I had been scouting all the mountains around me for the last 7 days. They were seemingly at comparable elevations to Mount Pedro, and I just saw minimal amounts of snow. So I really figured it would be an up and over, and if I ran into, snow worse than I thought, it would be a late night out. No, it was bad snow all the way up to the top, and then at the top where I thought the snow would have melted, it stayed snowy at least up to knee level, and in places up to mid-thigh level. which is not only slow but incredibly painful. And I was out of food and water at that point because I had not budgeted enough food and water. So I turned back to the road, and then I spent today scouting ahead. So now I'm thinking of, 4 or 5 days ahead. The next town after Cuba, so Cuba is just 1 day ahead right now. The town of Grants is another maybe 4 days ahead after Cuba. Well, the route by CDT to Grants for 30 miles goes through low elevation land, and then it goes right up to 9,000 and 10,000 feet again. And I don't know at this point what to expect if I go that way. I certainly didn't expect any snow on the mountain that I just went up at this point, and I was wrong about that. And if I do go ahead that route through Grants at that elevation and I encounter snow, the only way to get back out is to back out, back to Cuba. So I scouted an alternate, basically to just stay west of that mountain range, to stay at lower elevation. And what I saw was 0 water sources for 100 miles along that entire stretch from Cuba all the way to Grants. So I drove ahead with gallon jugs of water, and I positioned them every 15 miles forward on the side of the road. And I made it about 40 miles out before the road terminated at a fence that I didn't expect to be there, because it's a road with a name, which to me would seem like a public road, but it wasn't. It turned out I was on Navajo land, and that road transitioned from public to private, and whoever owned that land, I guess, wouldn't allow passage through because the gate was locked with a lock. So I backed my way out, and in the process of backing out, someone at the house nearby blasted a shotgun over my head, which I think was their way of saying, please leave. So that's what I did. I backed my way out off the reservation land. And again, I stayed on a public road the entire way. Re-picked up my jugs of water. And then I looked at, what if I went to the east of this mountain range? And there are something like 4 or 5 different tribes that have reservations out to the east. And these reservation lands now feel like minefields. And both sides of the CDT are scattered with different tribes' reservation lands. And so I've now concocted the next best route, which is to alternate 150 miles off of the CDT